What's up, Chris? I almost said Tuesday.
No, it's not Tuesday today. No, sir. No, sir. Today is Friday, and a
Oh,
happy,
it
happy
feels like
Friday
a
it is.
week of Fridays this week, man.
Well, this one's the real Friday. So the
Yes.
weekend is upcoming. Welcome, 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 everyone, to the Ecom Hour from On the Rocks, the show where we talk about e-commerce and e-commerce adjacent information, specifically as it relates to technology and tips to run your e-commerce business. I am tired because I just ran to go take my dogs to get their haircut. And I'm here with Jay. He's over there, Jay Kimmelman. And we're the host of your show. I'm actually Chris Gino. He's Jay. We're here to talk about e-commerce stuff. Last week, as it comes to that, we talked about marketing content for e-commerce brands. We talked about the whys, why you should do it. We talked about the whats, like what you can do. We talked about the wheres, like where you should do it, as well as the who's, who you should target. So take a look back at last week's episode to hear all about that. This week, we're going to be talking about whatever in the world is going on at Amazon because they're doing some things. It was an interesting
Yeah,
end to
what's
2024.
up with that?
Yeah, that's what we're going to talk through. So there's a lot to discuss. It was an interesting end to 2024, and Amazon's got a lot of things going on, as you'll see when we get to the news. So let's get to the news. in in the tech news, Jay, there were a handful of different AI things. And again, every time I check the news, there's some kind of AI thing or another. These ones were the ones that made the cut and felt interesting for one reason or another. The first one is you will have seen the commercials probably for Agent Force for
Mm-hmm.
retailers, which helps you as a retailer to create AI agents and to speed up processes. So Salesforce, they're rolling that out for real. Obviously, they got a big ad campaign behind it. They are not the only people in the AI agent space. That are Parcel Lab, who I'd never really heard of before. Parcel Lab launched a post-purchase AI email editor, so an agent for editing your emails to follow up of post-purchase. So that's a whole mouthful, but Jay, I don't know about you. I get these emails all the time. Anytime I buy something from Amazon, anytime I buy something from a wide variety uh, of e-commerce tech vendors, right, or
Right.
vendors of any sort, right, you get the follow-up of, hey, thanks for using us, thanks for buying stuff from us. Here's another thing you should buy, or here's what you should do with the product now that you have it, or maybe you would like to join our Facebook group so you can highlight how cool our product is. Um, the
So
Parcel
we can
Lab
target
has
you with further ads on our
That's
products.
correct. Um,
Yes.
but to be able to do all that, right, you need to send an email that's appealing and worth reading. And so Parcel Lab's new AI email editor, I believe, is intended to do just that. Um, Amazon also added some new ad stuff in their marketing cloud environment. They added an SQL generator, which is another AI tool. So Amazon's making some adjustments in Marketing Cloud that allows you to build out that code. So a cool tool there, I think.
And that one
Um,
was the one that I got drawn to because of, sequel.
yeah,
And,
sure.
the story was like, it's just like a blurb. It's like, I wanted more. So I'm
Yeah,
going to dig a little deeper on that one and see if there's
yeah,
anything more to it. Might pop that
yeah.
up next week at that point.
Definitely, yeah. So if you are using Marketing Cloud, know that the SQL generator is out there. Um, but Jay and I don't know a whole lot about it because it was a very small blurb in the article that I read, like truly that real small. The final thing, and I actually think this one is actually maybe the most interesting. I think Agent Force obviously is going to get the most coverage and probably the most utilization because Salesforce is very popular, and of course they put an ad campaign behind it. But Pipe 17, they got $15.5 million to help develop omni-channel synchronization. So this is synchronization between pricing, between your products, between your inventory levels across multiple channels. And when I think about problems that face the e-commerce industry, especially if you are on multiple channels, so if you do have an omni-channel presence, like this is one of your biggest problems. And so if this AI tool that Pipe 17 is working through and working to prepare, if this can help to fix that issue, like that's a huge advancement. So I'm excited to see. I think they may already have a product like this, but this funding is supposed to help improve that product or make it better, make upgrades to it, that kind of thing. So I'm excited to see what Pipe 17 does to synchronize all of your stuff across all your channels. And that, Jay, that was the AI news. I still feel like I'm running because I feel like I ran through that really quickly. Jay, this is this is obviously like more broad than e-commerce news. This next tech topic, and in fact, it's probably changing like every 15 minutes. And
I
so
really wish I had the breaking news banner through across the screen, but
yeah, maybe yeah, we
I haven't
need.
built that yet.
Yeah, I don't
We
know
need to
what the
get there.
status is. Yeah, and then integration to CNN or some other news
Yeah.
source. Yeah. So if you're not aware, if somehow you are living under a rock and you don't know this, one of the most popular social media sites, TikTok, is set to be shut down on Monday. So that's right around the corner, and I don't know what's going to happen. And I don't think anybody really knows with 100% certainty. There just remains lots of like non-clarity here. Jay, am I wrong? Did I miss an
Well,
article or two since this morning?
no, I think you got it there, but you know, the current administration says, yeah, we're not going to intervene. We'll let the next guy deal with it. The next guy's like, yeah, we want to keep it open after being the first person to say to shut it down. But we've had a bill passed the House and Senate, signed by the president. It had 80% support. It's been through the court, the appeals court, and now the Supreme Court, and they've all said, "Yeah, let's let this die." So all that we have left is a 90-day window that the president can approve, because that was put in the bill, to give it like a 90-day waiting period to see if we can wait this out. So here's the thing. If I had $1 billion, I still couldn't buy TikTok because they're not selling the algorithm.
Mm-hmm.
So it's gone. And I love the stories coming up this week because, my First Amendment right says that I can say what I want. Well, yeah, you can still say it. It doesn't mean you have to say it on TikTok.
TikTok, that's
You can go
right.
say it on Instagram or Facebook, for Pete's sake. But I love the fact that people are saying, okay, we need to use Lemonade now. Well, Lemonade is owned by ByteDance, which is not going to be allowed to be used. And then they're saying, let's everybody rush to RedNote. And so we have over $1 million people downloading RedNote. Well, it's going to get banned because of its situation. So uh, from the outside, and I'm on TikTok. I like it. I've even bought something on the TikTok shop, which means the CCP has my credit cards. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you and I talked about this many, many months ago,
Right.
and honestly, I still think that Zuckerberg is behind the whole shutdown thing because he's the one that benefit the most from this. You know, he had a mass exodus out of off his platforms. And what better way to get it back than shutting down your competition, saying they're a foreign actor? Yeah, I don't know. We shall see.
Yeah, yeah, we will. But it is interesting, and it will be something to pay a lot of attention to because I do think that in the short term there's going to be a gap there, and while that gap is there, e-commerce retailers are you need to focus on like where your people go, right? So if you have customers that are out on TikTok now, you need to be aware of where they're heading, and uh, and and what platforms you want to make sure that you get your ad spend and support behind, so that you can
Yep.
capitalize on wherever they're going, so you can follow them there.
But
Um,
it's bigger than the ad spend at this point because you have the TikTok shop and people, yeah, building out that infrastructure, and
right,
there are people that are only selling on TikTok shop, and that could be a problem.
of
But
course.
maybe you move your product to Amazon. Oh wait, we'll talk about that later.
We'll see. We'll see.
We shall see.
Regardless, yeah,
But
this is one of the
it's
famous
going to
"we
be
shall
interesting,
sees."
at least for the next
Yeah,
90 days.
there's no question, and I'm sure even after, right? No matter what happens, it will be interesting whether it's shut down and something fills that void, whether
Yep.
the platform itself gets repurchased or without the algorithm and somebody has to develop. Who knows? But it will be interesting, and it will be really impactful to e-commerce retailers, and that's who we're here to talk about. So let's all be on the watch for this as we learn more. When we get the breaking news here in a minute later this afternoon, we'll drop it in as much as we can. In other tech news, Microsoft, their Microsoft advertising is catching up with Facebook and Amazon and TikTok in releasing tools for retailers. So they've released Curate for Commerce and sponsored promotions by brands to monetize data regarding to targeted ads. That's what Curate for Commerce is, and to help engage shoppers in being with personalized data-driven experience, which is what sponsored promotions is. If those things sound really boring and plain to you, that's because we've already talked about them like on 4 different platforms. So my understanding is that these are just tools that are going to help to make your ads more effective, help to make your ads more powerful, and overall just help to improve that process, which is exactly what everybody else is doing. So way to get on it, Microsoft. We're glad to see you there, especially as big of a player in this space as you can be. So good to see it. Like we mentioned several times, when somebody does it, people just keep following. This is an example of that, and eventually somebody's going to find a really really neat and cool version of this that other people are going to adapt their own versions to, and the end result is that everyone's is going to be better, and that I think is the big takeaway here. Is just continue to watch this space, because they're the people who you're spending ad dollars with. They want you to be able to do that, and they want you to keep doing that because they want their products to be valuable as well. So just continue to watch as those products continue to improve. And then finally, in the tech items, IBM Order Management, their platform is integrating with Walmart's Go Local white label delivery, which I thought was a really interesting thing to see a company that is as big as IBM start to do some of this integration directly with delivery programs. I think this is probably a similar thing that we've talked about. There may already be like a million of these that I just don't know about. But my expectation is if IBM is doing this, then we're going to start seeing it a lot. And when your order management platforms are integrating directly with delivery services, that makes that process so streamlined and so much more efficient that there's a lot of value to be able to come out of that. So I'm really, really excited to see IBM investing in this space and partnering with someone as big as Walmart to come up with this that Go Local platform to make that work seamlessly and more effectively. So exciting news there, even if the impact to 3PLs in the e-commerce space is maybe limited right now. Eventually it won't be, because this will do the same thing that Microsoft and all the others have as well, where it starts to filter into to lots of different places. So exciting to see that.
And I'm curious at what Walmart's Go Local delivery is. Is it for their third party sellers? Is it for their stores? Because I mean, I have ordered off of the Walmart app. It was like
Yeah,
one or two things, and it's like, oh, we'll have it there today, and it's like
yeah,
it mattered 2 hours, and it's like it's there. It's amazing.
right.
It's like I
Yeah.
didn't even have to order $35 worth. It's just there from my
Yeah,
local store. I mean, amazing.
that's great. Yeah, I don't know a lot about the Go Local program either. All I know is that this article indicated it was their white label delivery
Yeah.
program, and so I don't know whether that is the like what you described, or whether it is a third party fulfillment that Amazon's doing as well, or not Amazon, that Walmart is doing as well. But regardless, big investment in the shipping and logistics space is something I like to see. So I was glad to see that. And that, Jay, is today's tech news. In other e-commerce related news, just more broadly, I saw something that I want to highlight as a trend that looks like it's happening, and maybe it's just because it's the beginning of the year. But Target and Advanced Auto Parts, they're getting new CIOs and CTOs And both of the articles that I read around this were talking about how this is for digital leadership. And so these places that historically you think about as these box stores or these like storefront retail storefronts, they're looking to push into the e-commerce space. They're looking to get digital. And then I also read a separate article around Ingram Micro, that got a new digital person too. And this person was brought on specifically to help develop their Xvantage product, which is also in the same space, right? It's in AI improvement and AI support. And so it's really clear that physical retail is leaning into e-commerce, and that the development of new products continues to happen in this space. And I think that that's a really important thing for e-commerce retailers to be thoughtful about, because you're going to have more competition, but that also means you may have more marketplaces. And so you have this opportunity from both perspectives to be able to be a market leader, but also potentially to sell your products in more spots without a lot of the infrastructure hiccups and things that you may have run into in the past. So this is it's an exciting time to be in e-commerce, I think.
So I have a little bit of experience here as well. Just
Yeah,
like I was talking about the Walmart app, you know, I am a big fan of Target and their app and buying local and getting things
yeah,
delivered. But so they're making the e-commerce local because they have the stock in the store, stock in the local stores adjacent to your area, and then
yeah,
the other items that you can then get shipped. And they make it really simple. It's like there's no need to go into the stores anymore. I mean, realistically. And Advance Auto, I mean, my boy Ryan Blaney, man, sponsored by Advance Auto.
there you
So I got to
go.
go there. And Ingram Micro, yeah, I've worked with them in the past as they are one of the providers in the Microsoft partnership program. So you could buy your products through Ingram Micro for Microsoft, and just expanding that footprint and using that platform with e-commerce and integrating with AI. It's just going to make it easier.
Yeah,
So, and Ingram isn't a lot of B2C; it's mostly B2B.
right.
So, looking forward to seeing what they roll out there.
Yeah, absolutely. The Xvantage. I didn't do much research into that program specifically, but it was explicitly mentioned in the article I read here as what this the new digital person, their digital leader, vice president, or CIO or CTO or something like this. They were brought in specifically to help develop this program. So really excited to see what comes out of all of this development that's happening in AI, specifically around logistics and and e-commerce support. So super exciting. Shipio, who I had never heard of either, which is maybe a little embarrassing, but they're a transportation platform for shipping information, right? So they like help to coordinate shipping, I guess. But they got $30 million to expand their infrastructure out into the Asia Pacific region, and then some additional support in North America. And I think that this is interesting because when that 30 million is a big number, right? That's a lot of investment, and so it's exciting when companies that are developing products like this that again help to streamline logistics when they're getting investment, because that's clear that somebody sees this as a problem, and they're looking to help to make a solution. So excited to see that. I don't know much about Shipio, but it's nice to know that somebody supports them, and $30 million feels like at least a reasonable amount of support for sure.
Yeah, looking at their client list, I mean, Amazon,
Sure.
Yamaha, I mean, large
Yeah,
companies.
it's big
So,
brands. Yeah,
yeah,
sure.
apparently, yeah,
Yeah.
interesting.
So they were looking to make that process better or more effective or whatnot. So definitely, again, nice to see investment in that area. Um, then eBay, they made a big splash. They bought Caramel to expand into vehicle transportation and support. And so I know eBay I've heard of eBay Motors before,
Hmm.
and we talked just a couple weeks ago about how you can buy Hyundais off Amazon now, which I've since seen like ads about, and my friends have asked me like, hey, did you see this? Did you know that you could do this? To which I said, yes, I did. I was on the forefront of that. um, It looks like eBay is doing something similar, where again they're looking to streamline that process of supporting vehicle and supporting transactions. So not a surprise to see some of these leaders in this space follow along, but that happened. And then in just e-commerce news, and I know our main topic today is of course on Amazon as well, but Amazon was really busy. They did all kinds of stuff over the past week. One point of note: Chinese-based sellers in 2024 reached 50% of Amazon's market share. So that's pretty wild to see, but also not surprising. You'll recall here we talked about Amazon Haul, which is the direct competitor or intentional competitor to Shimu. That's Shein and Temu, that are those Chinese-based sellers as well. And so Amazon is a lot of what they sell here in the United States comes from Chinese-based sellers. It's just a fact of the matter. That's where a lot of production happens, and it's up over 50% now for the first time. So know that. Also, they made a very large investment in India. And they spent $150 million on Axio, which is a buy now, pay later startup in India, with the intention, I think, of helping to continue to build infrastructure in that marketplace. Obviously, India is now the most populous country in the world, and so that is a very big market. And Amazon is continuing to invest there. This article that I read around that said that they've actually already invested almost $1 billion in Indian infrastructure. So they are continuing to invest there. Now, Axio is oh, go ahead, Jay.
I was going to say this is like the third week in a row we've had a buy now pay later story. I
That's
am
really popular
really
too.
I'm really curious the number of percentage of sales that are being processed through buy now pay later, because things like Affirm have popped up, and I mean, well, Affirm's been around, but these new players have popped up. And did I lose you, Chris? Are you still there?
Still here, but the camera
Okay.
looks lost.
Your
Working on
camera
it.
is not okay. There you go. But we've had Affirm and some other players, but now all these other players are popping up, and it's really taking off. And I'm really curious what percentage of transactions are going that way. I mean, it's like online layover. Yeah,
Layaway,
layover. Is that
layaway,
what it is?
layaway,
Layaway. That's
layaway.
it. Yeah,
Yeah,
layaway.
no, it is a really interesting development to watch, and it's kind of funny. I think payment, like the way that we pay for things, is changing more broadly across the
Mm-hmm.
spectrum. I went last night to buy ice cream for my wife. She was craving ice cream, so I went to our local little ice cream shop, and paid by tapping my phone, not an iPhone, just this is a Pixel. Um, so using whatever that is, GPay or whatever. Um, and it made me think about, like, I hardly ever even use my actual physical credit cards anymore when I don't have to, right? I'm just using different technology now than I was maybe even just as recently as a year ago. Um, and that seems to be true also of what's going on in a lot of these marketplaces, is people are finding these alternative ways to pay, that a buy now pay later, especially in this environment, right, with the 0% interest. If you're buying something substantial and you can just like pay for it over time, that's really valuable to you, because that can go a lot of different ways, obviously. So I think that the way that we pay for things is going to continue to change. And I even read an article. This was just completely outside of the research that I was doing for the show today, but an article about how, like, do we even need cash anymore? Like, do people even use it? Should we just go directly to like a more like card-based environment? Now, I think that there are fees and things that are associated with that maybe would be bad, but it's changing, and I think that that's what's important, right? And it's very clear that Amazon recognizes this, because $150 million, that's a pretty sizable investment, no matter what you do, and that's really mostly just for one market. So that's it's a big thing, and definitely one that I think that we'll continue to see happening, and continuing to see change, like as we go into 2025 and beyond.
The pay over time on Amazon, is that only through the Amazon credit card though? that they're
You know
offering?
what? I don't know. I don't know if that's what Axio is intended to be, is if it's like support for
Yeah,
that, or if it's more like a firm. I think it's more like a firm, where it's
yeah,
a separate thing where you could do it outside of the product, but I don't know.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, it'll certainly be interesting to continue to watch what happens there. Because the last point that I'll make to that is that we're not very far away from there being more digital currency in the marketplace. We've talked a little bit about that on the show too, and especially in areas like South America and Latin America, where that digital currency is a little bit more. Um, I don't know, people like it a little bit more than maybe even the local currencies, because of some of the fluctuations and uncertainties around their local currency. Like, I think that if you're not thinking about how digital currency can potentially impact your business in the longer term, you should be, because there's going to be a lot of impacts to your businesses by digital currency, especially if you're in global markets, on a going forward basis for sure. Amazon did some other things too. So not only are they not only do they have a lot of their market share coming out of China, then and did they like invest in India, but they also did a few things that maybe aren't quite so exciting. So if you have Sharp products, then this is like literally like pokey things, is my understanding. Support for Sharp products is being removed. I don't know if that's going to come up in our conversation later, but it might. So know that if you ship something that's Sharp, you're not going to be able to do that through Amazon going forward. And then, Jay, I don't know whether you've ever tried this, but Amazon is leaning really, really hard into AI by ending their try before you buy. So they had a program where you
Hmm.
could purchase something, they'd send it to you, you could try it on, make sure it fits you right,
Hmm.
make sure you liked it, before you actually had to buy it. But they're ending that program because AI tools are getting too good. They're the like see how it looks now. Tools that are existing in the marketplace are too good, and they don't want to offer that try before you buy product anymore. So they're shutting that down. Um, and then finally, at least before we go blasting Amazon for the rest of this episode, they did do something positive, right? They added some new retail ad service support. This service is to manage relevant campaigns from your own website, even. So, this ad service addition and upgrade is actually a very positive thing. So Amazon is trying to make, again, just like everyone else, they're trying to make this process as easy, seamless, and streamlined as possible. And of course, if they're able to charge you for it, I'm sure that that's an even bigger advantage for them. So
I mean, going back to the try before you buy, I mean, all I did
yeah,
was put a 7-day pause on payments. I mean,
yeah,
really, either they charge you or you send it back in that time period. And we
yeah,
do know that they're actually looking at changing some of the return policies and things like that.
yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it makes that big a difference, but
No, I mean, it probably doesn't. And truly, like, I do think it's that they just don't want to offer that like free period
yeah,
anymore. Is my assumption. It's not like actually that they think the AI products are getting good, but that was at least what was included in the in the like press
maybe
up.
they have the Macy's guy that was tracking
Oh
shipping,
yeah,
tracking the
maybe,
warranty claims on there or something.
maybe could be. Oh my gosh.
For those that don't know, there was a was about $150 million discrepancy at
Yeah, I think that
Macy's.
sounds right. I think it
Yeah,
was something
with
like that.
shipping
150
expense.
million.
So that's a whole other story. But yeah, so just kind of relevant, but not. But
Yeah.
so
All
well,
right.
that's the
Well,
news.
that was the news. That was the news. Jay, because I was running back, I didn't fill up my water, so I don't even have. I am drinking nothing today. Not even water because it's empty. We're beverage free.
Yeah,
Are you just
I am
water here
sipping
today?
water.
Yeah,
I've had two semi-sleepless nights, so I'm
yeah,
really tired and I really want a nap. So I
yeah,
not tempted myself to have a cocktail.
yeah. I I was intending to go like mostly dry January. I think I might shut that down this weekend. We'll see. We can talk about that more at the end of the show. So stay tuned for my
For
drinks of
sure.
choice going into the end of the show. But on to our main topic today. So at the end of the year, like we mentioned, Amazon announced a significant change to their Fulfillment by Amazon, their FBA inventory reimbursement policy. That policy goes into effect on March 10th, so it's not quite there yet. But previously, Amazon reimbursed sellers at the full retail price for lost items or damaged items before a customer order. Under the new policy, the reimbursements will be based solely on the product's manufacturing costs. Now, if you were just reading this on the internet and didn't know a whole lot about accounting, you might not think about that or not understand what that means. But what that effectively means is that if Amazon loses or breaks your product, you are not getting the margin on that product anymore, which is a sad day. So sellers could estimate the Amazon cost using historical information or submit their own cost documentation. And naturally, when you don't get the margin on this, that has raised concerns among sellers about the potential profit reductions and the security of some of their cost information. So we have all kinds of
There's
different
two
problems
other
that can come out
things
of
to
this.
throw in there, though, Chris. There's two other things.
Yeah,
One,
yeah,
it's manufactured cost. It's not landing cost. So
oh, it
they're
doesn't
not
include the
reimbursing
shipping.
you the cost to bring that to the U.S. or the duties that are on it. So, if we have more uh, more tariffs,
Refs.
you're going
Oh
to be
yeah,
out
all
that
that.
too moving forward. And the other side of that is you have to disclose the cost or give documentation, or Amazon is going to calculate the cost on their own process. And it could be
Mhm.
much less than what you actually paid to have it manufactured.
Right, and so there are lots of problems and lots of feedback and pushback that's come along with this. Obviously, Amazon, we talk about them every week, and that's because they are one of the biggest and most dominant players in the e-commerce space. If you're not selling on Amazon, are you even selling? You may be, but a lot of there is so much out on Amazon that it is a huge marketplace. And this is just another layer of these emerging challenges and growing discontent more broadly among third-party sellers on Amazon. So first, let's talk a little bit about Amazon's marketplace, right? So I want to talk about how important third-party sellers can be, because you don't think about it, right? You go onto Amazon and you order something and you just assume it's going to be at your door in 2 days, right? But a lot of that comes from third-party sellers, which account for over 60% of sales on Amazon. So that's a really significant portion of sales. Um, the Amazon also has a lot of initiatives to support these sellers. They have some selling plans. They have referral fees as much as 15% of the item's price. So there's a lot of effort that goes into to supporting these third-party sellers, and so they are a pivotal and critical portion of Amazon's marketplace. But as we've talked about on this show several times before as well, um, there are increasing costs like all over the place. So storage fees are getting more expensive, shipping charges are getting more expensive. Like everything is getting more expensive, and just along with that, the fees charged by Amazon are getting more expensive, which is starting to impact seller profitability. So this new policy, this new reimbursement policy, is just going to be yet another increase in rising cost in these policy changes. And so, Jay, I'd love to hear your thoughts about how you think this cost and in conjunction with other costs are really impacting the third party sellers.
Well, historically, they've been hit with fees of approximately 30 to 40%.
Yeah,
And you take that with your cost of product anywhere from 20 to 50%, it leaves a very slim margin. And
right,
adding more costs on top of it make it even harder on the small third party sellers to make a margin on their product.
right,
So what you have to do is understand your product, understand the holding costs of it, understand what it's going to cost to ship it and fulfill it, and
Right.
make your margins based on that, and try to trim down the cost of the product, and you know make the best you can with dealing with the fees that they're passing. Now,
Yeah.
I kind of made a joke earlier about leave TikTok shop and sell on Amazon, but I mean, Amazon is still probably the best place to launch your product because it is a marketplace.
Yep.
It's so much easier to find things there. It is a huge search engine because you search for it in Google. It's the Amazon listings show up. So
Right.
you know it's a double-edged sword, and you have to weigh that out and see what works best for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it's not a surprise that as these costs continue to rise, and as this conversation around changing this reimbursement policy looks like just an additional rising cost, that sellers are starting to get frustrated, right? There's growing dissatisfaction among sellers due to these policy changes and all of those increased costs. In fact, there was a case study of Package Mint, who, not surprisingly, had experienced shrinking profits. And so they actually were doing the opposite of what you're talking about, Jay. They were diversifying. They were actually taking their products elsewhere with the intention of trying to improve their profit, because they could use TikTok Shop or Instagram or wherever it might have been to help to combat some of those costs. Because, like you said, the costs that Amazon takes are significant. And so I think that this diversification to alternative platforms is the thing that you'll see happening next, because at some point it just doesn't become it becomes just too challenging to sell on Amazon anymore if you're being squeezed as much as we've kind of talked about here. One thing that I've seen clients do to attempt to combat this, or to adjust for this, or to make changes related to this, is to offer different pricing. So that's a diversification of pricing. So maybe your website is a little bit cheaper than Amazon, so that you are influencing people to go to your website. Alternatively, you could do exactly what we talked about, and you could use other platforms. You could use Walmart's marketplace. You could use your own store through Shopify or some other e-commerce provider. You could use TikTok Shop, or even Shimu, if that's where your products are most appropriate to be sold. These platforms are often cheaper, right? You don't have to pay 40% through TikTok Shop or through Shopify, and so because they're these lower fees, that makes them more appealing. They also have this more seller friendly environment, right? Because of that, right? Now Amazon is doing some things to combat that, right? We've just talked about how they're changing their they changed some of the detail on ad spend that you can get from up to 5 years back. Just last week we talked about the improvement to their ad platform this week, and so Amazon's continuing to combat some of this stuff by trying to be more seller friendly. But these other platforms, between the lower costs and lower fees more broadly, they just offer an alternative. Now, the big challenge that you run into, right, as an e-commerce seller, when you're not using Amazon, is that you now have to fulfill that product in some other way, and so that can often be a cost that you don't think about directly if you do choose to diversify to some alternative platform. So before you just go ditch Amazon all the way, think about the ramifications.
We did have that conversation probably 2 months ago about
Yeah,
3PLs and
yeah,
when to and when they're a good fit.
yeah.
And so if you don't want to fulfill the product yourself, that's always a great opportunity, is to go to a third-party logistics warehouse to handle that for you.
Right. Now, of course, Amazon doesn't want to lose that business because it's also pretty valuable to them. And so they've started to at least announce that they're going to do some things. We just mentioned a few of the ad-related service offerings that they've rolled out, but they've also indicated that they're planning to freeze new fees in 2025, so that sellers aren't that you understand what at least your 2025 looks like. And they've so you as an e-commerce seller, it's really important to do some kind of analysis of that competitive landscape, especially since there are so many other e-commerce platforms that exist and other places that you can sell your product. And so, Jay, I think as we think about this and talk about this, one of the things that's going to be the most valuable to e-commerce sellers is what does this mean more broadly, and what does it mean for the future? And so I'd love to hear your thoughts on what Amazon making these continuing to make these changes that are increasing their fees. What do you think that they'll do to the market, and what do you think that business owners should be thinking about as we continue in 2025?
Yeah, I mean, like you talked about diversification of your sales channels. I think it's inevitable.
Yeah,
Um, Amazon is growing leaps and bounds every day. I mean, I'm getting ads for Amazon Pharmacy. Get a
oh yeah,
$15 credit if I get my first prescription filled. And
nice,
so, I mean, they're in our healthcare, they're in our prescriptions. They're we can buy cars now, we can buy
right,
food. They're everywhere, and
right,
I really think, and I take that back. I think maybe if this was happening 4 years ago, there might have been a look at that and maybe a possible breakup of some of Amazon. I
mm,
think under the Trump administration, I don't think that's going to happen because they're about less regulation. They're not going to push on it. So,
right,
we shall see there. But, you know, I think we're going to see Walmart gaining, we're going to see the other marketplaces, Etsy, eBay, growing as well. I
right,
believe that we will see shopping cart software like Shopify, BigCommerce, WooCommerce growing, and a shift off of, and not necessarily a shift off of, but or not a shift to, but a shift off of to these
hmm,
platforms because they're already on them anyway. It's just they're
yeah,
trying to make them their primary source versus a secondary source. So
yeah,
and then you have to take into account everything we've been talking about over the last couple of months, whether
right,
it's making your Shopify store faster, having all the different cart abandonment tools and all the other marketing tools that we've been talking about, because
right.
now you're going to have to market that product and push people to your Shopify store rather than to Amazon.
Yeah, and I do think that that's an important thing to realize, and I think that what you'll see is a lot of what, like I talked about, that my client did, where you end up with these pricing discrepancies intentionally, where if you want to get the product in 2 days through Amazon, you can do it. It'll just cost you a little bit more, and so I think you'll start to see that happen more frequently as well. And then you may see a continued move to the like cart size items, right? Things to push those on-site average order values up, but also incentivize you to stay on the web page instead of going to Amazon, so that you can continue to gain value from that. So there are lots of different things that I'm sure we'll see, and it will pay to be creative and thoughtful in the way that you address this, because Amazon, and because it's so big, and because so many of the providers on there are third party sellers, and come from across the world. Like, it is the easiest place to get into the U.S. market, so it's not going to go anywhere. And it's more just making sure that you have a good plan to structure your business around that, and to understand the costs. And we've talked about that on the show before as well. Understand the different costs that you're paying to Amazon, and what value they are providing to you for those different costs, like what you're getting for that, and do a true comparison and analysis of what you're getting from Amazon, and what you could be getting from an alternative provider. And so again, obviously, Amazon's making big changes. They're doing some things that they're trying to like limit the impact of that, right? They're trying to make their site more appealing in lots of other ways as well. Um, but stay tuned right here to the e-commerce hour, and we'll continue to talk about whatever comes next for Amazon, and what comes out of whatever they're doing. Jay, Did you have any other thoughts that you wanted to add around Amazon and these issues?
Yeah, I want to go back to the original issue that we were talking about, which was the reimbursement
Yeah,
for lost or damaged goods. And you had said that, and I already did partial clarity adding two items to it, but
yeah,
you had said that you had to either give them the cost or give them the documentation of the cost. Well,
right,
that documentation is what's really driving sellers nuts right now, because
yeah,
not only is Amazon going to know what you're paying for something, but they're going to know who's making it for you. And Amazon has a history of launching products of their own and putting other sellers out of business. And so, you're buying 500,000 units at $20 a unit. Amazon's going to come in. They're going to want the same 500,000 at 15,
yeah,
and the vendor's going to do it because it's Amazon. So, you
yeah,
know, that is one of those other risks that's out there, and you know, it happens. I mean, they will go out and they see a product that's really moving, and they see it's got longevity, and they will release it, and it
right.
becomes one of those Amazon picks. So uh, it's just the other thing that's really irking the sellers right now is that information there. So I thought I'd just bring that up there. So
Yeah, I know, and I think that's
yeah,
an important. I think that's an important thing to highlight too, um, because because like Jay mentioned, if you don't give that information, Amazon's just going to make that cost up for you. And if they do that, it could be based on all kinds of different things that may not be representative to you at all. And so again, that does make an evaluation of what that marketplace looks like for you, and whether it's the place for you to be that much more important. And so again, I think that's the critical takeaway here is, as always, be diligent in the marketplaces that you're selling in. Understand the components of the costs and the risks that you're taking on by being in different areas or not being in different areas. Um, and then, of course, stay connected to good quality advisors who may be plugged into an understanding in that area or have had some experience with it, like folks here at High Rock. Um, so so definitely be on the lookout. Stay tuned here because as or whether Amazon makes any different changes to that, or if we hear additional feedback and pushback from third party sellers who maybe have been outpriced by Amazon or whatnot, this will be the place that we'll see it and talk about it. So so be on the lookout, be diligent, make sure that you're paying attention to what you're paying for, and have that full understanding of your costs. And if you don't have time for that, get an advisor who does. So again, let make sure you're paying attention on all of that kind of stuff. Jay, what is it? When's NASCAR back? Is it we still several weeks away? How far we got to
two
go here?
weeks, man, 2 weeks,
2 weeks. Two
2 weeks.
weeks. Two
But
weeks.
and earlier this week, I was really excited about a press release by
Yeah,
Dale
sure.
Jr. and his race team. And
Hmm.
so he is entering his very first Cup Series race with his Xfinity Series championship winning driver, Justin Allgaier. And I'm
Oh
bringing
yeah.
this up because I need to get me a bottle of Traveler whiskey,
There you go.
because the number 40 car is sponsored by Chris Stapleton's own Traveler whiskey.
Another
So got to
whiskey.
get some of that and have a cup,
There you go.
or
I
a glass
wonder if you
on the
can buy
show.
that on Amazon, Jay.
I don't know.
Probably not.
But I will say this has been the most distractive show for me, because
Yeah.
about 20 minutes in, I got a pop up says you're running out of disk space.
Oh no.
So I'm over there trying to move some files around and delete them, which I got it done, by the way.
That's
And
great.
then about 5 minutes ago, I got a notice that my daughter had finished a drive. Well, she was 30 minutes out of where she was leaving. She's on her way back home. And I just quickly looked, and it showed her on the side of the road somewhere. So I texted her and said, "No, I'm fine. I'm on my way." So it's all good.
Oh,
So yeah,
that's
I
good.
mean, life happens, man. We got to
Yeah.
keep moving. So
Yep.
yeah, so yeah, kids coming home.
Yeah.
School starts Tuesday or Wednesday next week, and
Yep.
so she was working this week up in her school area, and
Yeah.
yeah, so
Then headed
I was
back
coming home
next weekend. So are you
for
gonna
last
do?
weekend and jump back
Yeah.
into it. Yeah.
Yeah. You guys, do you have special plans? Uh, Pizza party or
We
anything like
don't.
that?
She does apparently.
Oh wow. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Fun. That's fun.
Yeah.
Well, so my weekend, some of my bowling teammates, one of them purchased a brand new mini LED 100-inch screen TV,
Nice.
which sounds. And I think I'm going to find out. I will report back next week. But it sounds. I think it's going to be as absurd as it sounds. But with the
So
football
is the
game,
plan to watch the Cowboys playoff game?
Uh, I would not make that kind of plan. That seems unlikely in the current environment. But I do think we're keeping it in Texas though. So the plan is to watch the early game on Saturday. Um,
Nice.
the guy who's hosting is also the person who brews a lot of beer that for home brewing competitions. And so I think he has there's a big brew festival that's a little bit later in the year that he's brewed up for. And so I think he's going to have the full gamut of brews. So might have to put my dry January on a hiatus for a day,
Yeah, there you go.
and and then get back to it next week. But at least this weekend I'm going to try to. I think we're going to head out over there and enjoy some football. I know. Last week,
Nice.
My daughter, she enjoyed she enjoyed watching a little bit of the football too, while she was
Nice.
awake anyway. So we'll try that again this weekend and see how it goes. Um, Jay, is there anything big or exciting that we're expecting? Oh wait, there is. Oh, it's been a long time since there was a big thing coming next week. Holy smokes! We got a new president next week.
Yeah.
How about that? Um, yeah, that the inauguration is on the 20th, which is Monday.
Yeah, about
Um,
this time on Monday, we'll be looking for the executive orders that were signed, and I wanted to
yeah,
get the tone of what's going to happen for the next 4 years.
that's right.
Um, one other thing, I mean, I would mention this more on our other show, the Practice Playbook,
Yeah.
but Danny Werfel, the IRS commissioner,
Oh, I know. I
has
saw
said
you
he will
stepped
be
down.
resigning on Monday.
Yeah, it's an
So, yeah,
exciting
a
time to be
lot
an
going on.
accountant. Yeah, and there's a lot of impacts that come out of that, and so Jay, I don't know if we have a topic decided for next week, but it should probably be new administration thoughts, or something like that, because
New
I
phone, who dis?
yeah, new administration, who dis?
Yeah,
Because my expectation is that there's going to be something that's valuable for e-commerce that's going to come out of that, be that new tax cut, be that
yeah.
somebody who's regulating something, or not really regulating something. Like we may have a lot to talk about next week as far as that goes. So
Yeah,
stay tuned.
we've been waiting for a year for a tax bill,
Yeah,
and
we still have to wait
we
some
want
time, I
one
think.
big beautiful bill. I'm curious, are we going to get something relatively quickly, or are we going
Yeah,
to have to wait 6 9 months for this? I mean,
I don't know
my
if
hope is sooner than later.
I hope that too, so that we can all do planning around it properly. But I'm also not going to hold my breath. So
Yeah,
we'll
for sure.
we will see what happens, and as I've mentioned before, you know where you can find that news, and that's right here on the e-commerce hour. Thank you everyone for hanging out with us this afternoon. We'll be back here next week to talk about the news and then whatever's relevant. So thanks for watching. See you next time.
Have a great weekend, everybody. See ya.
Bye.